Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, wherever you are. Before starting, I would like to thank all the organizers from the event to invite us to participate in this beautiful space. This is the third day for this World Forum on the Local Economic Development, and especially to the UN for the development of the city of Córdoba to give us a space in the agenda, and of course to all of the people who are connected today. We know that due to the event and virtual events, you don't know what event to attend. So I really think that you have chosen this one. And also, I thank you because you're busy people. Thank you for accompanying us. We remind you that this session is being recorded. We have simultaneous interpretation. You can have access to this by clicking on the interpretation button that is located in the bottom of the screen. In your device, you can choose also what channel you want to listen, in what language you want to listen to. We'll be receiving all the comments or suggestions or any questions that you may have for the panel members through the chat. I greet in front of the UN Development Program. My name is Mateo Ledesma. I am specialist in cities and resource efficiency in the Office of Latin America and the Caribbean, focused in that has a place based in Panama. We combine innovation, efficiency, and in the territorial sources. In the International Resource Panel, the Global Alliances for Building and Construction. Before starting, I would like to welcome all the panel members. I would like to reflect on the importance of the topics we are going to discuss today. We know that COVID pandemic has shown what fragilities we already had and our economy had, highlighting the inequalities, existing inequalities, and also highlighting the vulnerability people, what they are facing. And at the same time, we have to rethink our economy systems. We have talked a lot about this big back better, or that is to rebuild better in English. But we have been with this situation more than 1 year, and we have been facing these three crises in the planet that we are facing: the environment, climate, the biodiversity loss, and the pollution, contamination. So we must reflect whether we are really reconstructing in a better way. Unfortunately, the answer for me is no, because a recent report from the organization I work with, in collaboration with the Oxford University, they have analyzed the economic packets that the countries are utilizing to face the crisis, and it has been registered that there is 14.5 million in the highest important countries, in which $1.9 billion, the 13%, is destined to recovery measures in the long term. And from that, only $34.1 million were devoted to initiatives for ecological recovery. So we have something so far. It's a beginning, but it's really necessary to increase the scale and the investment objectives. These examples are promises for green ecology recovery, and they are concentrated in only a few countries. However, we hope that with the passing of time and with the advancing of vaccination campaigns, we can provide support and the needs are diminished, and I am receiving technical issues, so I cannot translate this part. And to align all the expenses from the Agenda 2030. So it is very important to foster and strengthen the different political interventions in order to lead to a just and efficient recovery. We have different theories. We are having technical issues, so I cannot translate. Good morning, good afternoon. We are having some technical difficulties with the speaker. In some minutes, he's going to be connected. Can you hear me? I am back. Yes, we can hear you. It was just internet blackout. I'm sorry. As I was telling you, there were different theories that talk about combining technology in an economic model that is inclusive and has emphasis on preserving the natural resources from the planet. We listened many a time, the circular economy, the green economy, and many other models that were included in the agenda. And in these models, the only thing they are looking for is to improve the welfare of people, to reduce the environmental risks. I apologize, everyone, and the organization especially, and the assistants for this problem. I will try to go faster so we can start with the presentation. There are many models that refer to this circular economy, green economy, but these models guarantee the human welfare and the equity and to reduce the environmental risks so that we can harmonize the economic and the natural resources. To guarantee this, we need the intervention from and we must materialize the benefits of this formation. It's important that all the society stakeholders participate in this and also in the making decisions. We have 4 panel members in the group. They were invited from their different chambers, and they will share with us their insights on how to transform our society in a resilient and efficient way. Today, we are having difficulties. I apologize. I welcome to Santiago Saura. He is a counselor of the delegated area of internationalization and cooperation. Esperanza Caro, she's the General Director of Sustainable Development, Financing and External Action of the Seville City Council, and she's a Deputy Director of the... And Martín Guillermo Valerio Barberis, he's a Deputy Mayor of Urban Planning, Environment and Circular Economy from Italy. Patrick Moyesi, Coordinator of the UNEP from Africa, and Jorge Gustavo from the municipality of Cordoba, Argentina.
Hola a todos, buenos días.
Good morning, good afternoon. Since we're having a problem with Mateo, I think, so as not to waste so much time, if it's okay with you, we can continue. And when Mateo comes back, we can also invite him back to continue talking during this session. So as not to take more time, Santiago, would you like to start? I would like you. I'm going to switch into English, but I will give the floor to Santiago.
So Madrid has committed to become a carbon neutral by 2015 within the framework of the IET Climate Kick Deep Demonstrations of Health and Clean Cities program. This transformation combines knowledge and technology with business, financing, regulation, and public-private and social models. Could you please share with us how Madrid City Council expects of transformation? Thank you, Santiago. I give you the word.
Okay. Sorry. Buenos días.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Yes, we can hear you. I hope my intervention is like that. Thank you very much, first of all, to invite us to participate in this session that is very interesting. As Mateo was saying, the green transformation, the climatic neutralization is a big challenge and a necessity, and it's like that in the world, especially for cities because of the great quantity of population and the severe effects that they are suffering or they can suffer due to the climate change, and also for the percentage of emission that cities are responsible of. So we have to act very fast in advancing to this climate neutralization. And that is one of the very important themes. And on the internationalization we want to foster in Madrid and any other cities in the world. So we are advancing on this in a significant way, defining on where we want to arrive in the following years as regards to climate. We have approved recently the localization strategy, the sustainable development in Madrid in March, in which we, of course, had the support from the government, municipality, but also entities from the city, companies, environmental organizations. And with all that, we have defined a total of 104 local objectives in the municipality of Madrid, and also the follow-up of that in 2030, especially the ONGs, and especially the 2013, the 11 for sustainable cities or 7 for non-contaminant energy and technology connected to this green transition that we are trying to arrive to today. Apart from that, the ODS strategy and that roadmap in the city is supported by the Decarbonization Roadmap, which was approved in Madrid. We have recently presented in March this project, and it addresses that the Madrid will be climatically neutralized in 2030, and in 2030 we reduce 35% of greenhouse effect in comparison to 2019. This reduction is important. It's a very important percentage as regards national level and European level, because in the past the reduction was in 14% before, but it was widened recently by the end of the year up to a 55% of reduction in Europe. So in Madrid, we want to get to the 55% reduction of the greenhouse effect by 2030. For this roadmap and process of this significant transformation in the city, we count with the collaboration of the Climate Kick, which is the European innovation on climate change that is has the support from almost for 2 years. We have demonstrated the Climate Kick of this program in the cities of clean and cities. In Climate Kick, Madrid is one of the countries that is working in international collaboration with Climate Kick, and the work that we do is basically to maintain multi-actor platforms in collaboration with public and private sectors and also social sectors, designing together and fostering together innovative projects that accelerate the decarbonization so that we can arrive to the climate neutralization. The group that fosters this deep demo work is made of the University from Polytechnic Madrid, from the rival companies. They provided some funds on this so as Madrid can be a city that shows and demonstrates this. We have created a group that is interdepartmental group, and we have representations from different groups related to environment, climate, urbanism, and other areas, and also international organizations, as well as finding organizations, and linked to the companies in order to arrive to this green ecology project. So we are the challenge owners of the challenges faced by the city, and in what areas we need more priority in order to advance on this roadmap. And we were able with this demo. We were able to discuss and enrich the proposals for the city together with many varied companies and even cultured variety companies in order to be possible this reformation. This has to be put into reality. There are many projects we are working on to arrive to this. One important project is the sustainable axle, all the electrification for the mobility with recharge points in the city, electrical recharge points, accelerating urban areas to provide emission, especially transport, public transport and logistics and the mobility shared for that model, so that it will be the basis for this city during this temporary, like reducing and improving the quality of the air in this city. So there is less contamination. And then the hydrogen in the mobility, urban mobility, working with municipality, also deploying low emissions for the city and measures related to flex work in order to administer in a more intelligent way the transport flows, avoiding the accommodation during the rush time. And then the green, as regards the green structure, I would like to refer to some projects. There is one with the wireless that would be to create a green belt in the city in 10 years. We've been working with this. We have started with some planting activities so that the green spaces that already exist in the city, they can be spread, isolated, so we have an ecology sector, and we would like to have more connectivity. And this is in the long term. We have a lot of ideas. We are working with multidisciplinary teams. From the composition, the design of the landscape to the social equipments that are going to be used for social activities, cycling or green bridges that can be used for transportation so that they can enter in the city, so we can have as much as connectivity within this green belt. So we want to improve the urban space to provide better quality to the city and to rebalance this wilderness in the city. We're also working with other topics, having a regulatory sandbox. So we have regulatory barriers which delay this carbonization project. So we have a new urban design, an urban in high scale, probably the biggest in Europe, and incorporating in this development climatic neutralization and also the deployment, having this collaborative public and private participation in this new urban development project. And then to rehabilitate, working with the buildings to improve the electricity, the reduction of emissions, improve efficiency, and also as a creation for employment and a balance in the territory. So we are working with neighborhoods that are less favored to revalue those neighborhoods, and also taking into account the electricity poverty and scarcity. So we are working with the different types of entities, with different types of strategies, and in collaboration with Climate Kick team, we developed the economic study with Economics, that is one of the organizations participating with Climate Kick and has supported this roadmap in the climatic neutralization. I would like to highlight that this economic study has shown that the return in investment than the ROI is higher than the 30% for this city. That is, if we take into account the benefits, the direct investments of those investments, like the reduction of the energy use the employment, quality, health for the population, it has a very positive return on investments for the city, apart from the environmental ones that you already know. So that is a very important topic that we see and we want to work on. And the environment improvement goes together with the economic prosperity, health, and economical and environmental benefits. And that is the message we want to give to you so that we can get a real transformation. And also, it's something we want to provide as data to the city. Citizenship. This is more or less what we are working on, our objectives for almost 10 years, especially in the following years up to 2030, and the topics and the format and the roadmap as a level city and all the cities that can, and all the companies that can join to these objectives that we have, more or less answering the question that you were asking before. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Very urgent to have all the initiatives as a climate kick. So without further ado, because we already took a bit of time, I would just jump directly to Esperanza. And bringing us a bit also still in the European perspective, we would like to hear from you through the European Green Deal. The European Union has committed to become the first carbon neutral continent in the world by 2050. As the chair of the Green Deal Going Local working group of the European Committee of Regions, could you please share with us the challenges that local and regional authorities are facing while implementing the green transition locally? Thank you, Esperanza. I give you the word. Yeah, thank you. Okay, thank you very much. So moving forward, it seems to be the day now that we have a bit of a connection problems all over, but we continue. So I would like to ask something for Martin Guillermo, the Secretary General of the Association of the European Border Regions. So we're still keeping a bit in the European perspective. So Martin, having in mind that around 40% of EU citizens live in border regions and that environmental management is in nature a transnational concern, the cooperation between border regions is critical to enable the alignment of policies and concrete synergies on green and circular economic development models. Could you share with us how the border regions are serving as laboratories for innovation in this matter?
Thank you very much. I hope you can listen to me. I'm going to share my screen. Good morning, everyone on the other part of the Atlantic. Good afternoon on this part of the Europe. Since we have very short time, I would just give some highlights of my experience of the European frontier associations as regards these global challenges that we have faced. Many times we thought of this was a problem for the rich areas. However, in the last years, we were able to see that there are challenges that are shared by all the areas. So we started considering the frontiers as a genuine space that we need to intervene, as in especially we form part of the climate change topics. It was not easy because we had to face different experiences in the local level. And you also have to take into account that there is no symmetry. Even though we are talking about spaces within the European Union, there is a lack of symmetry. And you can perfectly see this when we face the environmental challenges. In general, the frontier places show the 50% of the population, but most of that is outside the center of power. That's why during many years we have to move to different actors in order to have a positive discrimination of the territory, in order to find an access level to services and the rights that are similar to the people who live in more central areas with more population, with more access, with more availability of transportation, etc. We think that these frontier spaces form part of the integration parts, and when we solve the problems through the frontiers together of public services and environmental resources, we add a very important value to this. We consider the collaboration. There are small labs that we can teach a lot without giving or doing a lot of. Every day we need to face a new challenge to have a small, for example, cleaning a river. It's a tiny activity, but it's good. The development of strategic activities. Sometimes the same happens for the digitalization of the sectors. I think everything is very linked. Here you had a roadmap of what is active in the transformation, where Seville is. I hope we can listen to this, to their representative. And we have frontier structures that have also been created in the last 60 years. But this not only happens in Europe, and in the previous map, you can see there are many structures in collaboration. We also identified in Latin America for more than 10 years, on the left up, a lot of collaboration where you have the particularity that we don't have structural funds or people who are supporting us, like many other programs. So they are generally produced from up to down. The same happens in the south of America. There are different processes identified. And we are working in other places like Jerusalem. In the transfrontier collaboration, the migration elements play a very important role. After the pandemic, when we thought we had all the answers, the questions were changed. So the agenda was changed, and we saw an opportunity for all the pending regulation as regards digitalization in the territory, like together in the service transportation. All of that. From the day to the night, the frontiers were closed by the states, but 24 hours afterwards, they had to be open because we discovered there was a relation in the frontiers that were not registered, but they were essential for essential services. And this put into the agenda, we want to highlight that in order to develop a solid program, change of mentality for renewable energy, if we don't take into account the frontier issues in the national frontiers, it won't be possible to have answers if we don't get the support. This is valid for the global emergencies like the climate crisis. In that way, the UN established during the pandemic some priorities for the next period, but also for the reconstruction funds in 4 important axes. Here I show you the 4 in this slide, but I'm going to concentrate on the most important one, which is an economy more green and with less carbon. So we need to learn. We didn't have this experience before, but now we must have it. I think that we were able to get, during the pandemic, to be more conscious about the importance of working together. I think we are better prepared to respond to the pandemic, but also to the pending challenges like demographic the problem within the European Union and the frontier regions. We are prepared. We are trying to be leaders in hydrogens to reconvert the structures, the way they administer the natural resources, even though we have not identified. Of course, there are more gaps to be bridged together as regards to natural resources, but we have advanced a lot, and there is a lot of conscience that we can take advantage of, and activities like the ones we are participating on can help to achieve this. So it's very important to take into account what is being done in Madrid. We really want to know what Seville is doing. We're going to listen what Córdoba is doing, what the UN says about what the environmental sector. And also they are going to talk about city networks. It's very important because we can extract inspiration, help to develop when we are not able or we don't see the light on what to do. That is one of the tasks that we want to do, and I hope the presentation I have shown to you can at least make you be interested in this or to have felt inspired to someone who is listening to this. I am ready to answer any question or to listen to any comment from the audience. Thank you very much. Thank you, Martin. And of course, your intervention was very useful for everybody. I'm going to see if we can come back to Esperanza to see whether she has solved her issue. And we can listen a little bit more about an experience from another local government. Esperanza,
we will continue and we'll move on then with a different experience, also a local one, by Valerio Barberis.
I will switch to English again. So let me ask you, Valerio. So the themes of circularity have always been historically linked to the city of Prato. However, the implementation of full-fledged circular strategy is a complex undertaking. Could you share with us the transition journey towards circular economy? How was a comprehensive circular strategy aligned and integrated with public policies and governance process, including the synergy and convergences between all the actors, including institutional actors, business, the third sector, and citizenship? What are the specific institutional arrangements and enabling measurements that were taken by the city government to support the elaboration and implementation of the strategy? So I pass you the word. Yeah.
Okay. Hi, good morning to everybody, and thank you for this invitation.
Good morning.
It's very important for me. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you well. Mm-hmm.
Yes, okay, perfect. So thank you really for this meeting and for the chance that you are giving us to represent what the city of Prato is doing in the fields of the transition to circular economy. Can I share my screen?
Yes, you should be able to share your screen directly.
Okay, perfect.
Perfect, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So, the city of Prato is a middle European city of around 200,000 people, and the city is inserted in the metropolitan area of Florence and Prato, which counts around 1.5 million citizens. So it's a city with one of the biggest textile districts in Europe. It used to be one of the biggest in the world, and now after the 2008 crisis, it's still one of the biggest textile district in Europe, with a very specific activity in the field of circular economy. In fact, the traditional fabric and the traditional production of the district is the reuse of old clothes, especially of wool clothes. Thanks to a specific industrial process, the industry is able to bring back the garment to the fiber, and so to recreate new fabrics. So thanks to this experience and to this expertise in the field of circular economy in the textile industry, the city that goes back since 2000, let's say 200 years ago, the city has acquired a kind of expertise in circularity approaches. And so, for instance, now the city holds one of the biggest industrial aqueduct in Europe, with over 80 kilometers of pipes that reuse civil and industrial wastewater after several treatments and bringing back water in the industrial areas for the productions that needs water. But it has also a very strong and specific expertise in the reuse of the tissue of the city, so urban areas, together with specific strategies of ethic economy and collaborative economy. So in 2016, the European Commission started a program which is called Urban Agenda for EU, which focused on at the beginning on 12 and now on 14 priority themes. One of the themes was of this Urban Agenda for EU was circular economy. And the city of Prato was in charge for the Italian government to coordinate the Italian participation to this partnership, to this working group, that for the first time put together in the same partnership the dimension, the EU government with several DG, member states, regions, and for the first time cities, so urban areas. The partnership was coordinated by the city of Oslo, and the partners were several partners, city like Prato, Lisbon, Den Haag, and Slovenia, Poland, and so on. So that experience was very important for the city because it was the very first moment when there was the acquirer, a full acknowledgement of the relevance of the city of Prato in the circularity, in the circular approaches at European level, and because it was very important to enter in a very strong European network of cities, regions, and states working together for the transition of member states to circular economy. So thanks to that experience, we started from the year 2019 to the program Prato Circular City. Prato Circular City is an the way, it's let's say a transition of the approach that was used and the governance model that was used by the city and by the network partners within the partnership on circular economy at EU level in an European city. So it's actually the first time where this method of this working method is applied in an European city. And Prato Circular City is actually a way where the municipality is creating a network between stakeholders and the citizens to create a circular governance of the city, let's say, and starting to emphasize the role of the city at national and European level in being one of the leading cities in the dimension of circular economy, and so working also in communication and territorial marketing programs, but first of all, working inside the city on several tables. So the Urban Agenda for the EU was a program, as I told you, where the key element was to create a network between different national, regional, and urban entity at European level, in order to share knowledge, but also in order to develop a program for the next European program to 2021-2028. In that partnership, the city of Prato coordinated several working groups. The partnership is organized in working groups coordinated by one of the members of the partnership, and driving the partnership as a whole to, at the end, with the final objective to create a position paper on circular economy. So the actions coordinated by Prato were, for instance, these three proposals for revised water sector legislation, the reuse of water at European level in the European legislation, a handbook on urban circular reuse of spaces and buildings. So creating the conditions for cities to understand that, first of all, instead of creating new neighborhoods, new quartiers, and to occupy agricultural field, we first of all have to know the existing unused or underused spaces and buildings of the city, both on private and public property, and work to create a connection and the new governance model between the presence of these buildings and spaces and the request and the demand of this. So creating, of course, a vision and linked to the vision of the city. And then a working group was working on waste management model of the pay-as-you-throw waste management models. So the role of this in these working groups was very important because, for instance, the position paper on better legislation was very important, and the relevant innovation at European level, because for the first time it was approved that the possibility to reuse water, to use reused water also in agriculture and not only for industrial purposes. As for the handbook on reuse of spaces and buildings, this is a coordinated working group coordinated together by Prato as a member of the Partnership on Circular Economy and by the region of Catalonia as partner of the Sustainable Land Use and Nature-Based Solutions. So it's very strong also political document because it comes from two different partnerships on the urban agenda on EU, and now is a strong vehicle for cities to share communication and to understand that one of the first steps for a real smart city, and considering smart and intelligent city, is that we first of all, cities should use in a smart way, in an intelligent way, what already exists. And so very often big problems of unused buildings or spaces in urban and peri-urban areas might be the solutions for demand, social innovations, startups, and the creation of new jobs opportunity and new opportunity for social entrepreneurs. And then, of course, in the topic of waste, the partnership realizes that let's say in the urban management, the strongest approach at urban level. So we're only talking of what a city can do at urban level to improve waste management in the waste management model, circular economy, is the pay-as-you-throw system. Then let's have a short look of where the Prato Circular City program is inserted in. The city of Prato is working starting from 2014 in a general approach and a governance model and a programming, which is linked to the 17 SDGs goals and working on four main focus: one on digital transition, the second on circular transition, the third on environmental transition, and altogether considering with a general position on social inclusion. So each of these main thematics has been translated in programs. So for instance, digital transition in the Smart City program, Prato Smart City, then the digital agenda of the city of Prato, which is linked to the national Agenda Digitale of the Italian government, and then specific experimentation in the city of Prato for the 5G technology. Prato was one of the 5 cities in Italy that were under the experimentation of 5G technology, but this considered as a strategy for the textile district to go to the transition to the digital transition of the textile district, and so considering it as the starting point to improve and to enhance circular economy production models. As for the environmental transition, the city is working very strong on several programs that are connected to how to improve the resilience strategies at urban level, both on sustainable mobility, so with the plan on sustainable mobility, but also in the mobility of logistics, so smart and sustainable mobility. Then a plan for the adaptation on climate changes that is called PAES in Europe, and then a very strong and specific activity and program on the urban forestation. Urban forestation that is considered as a strategy for public health, for urban resiliency, for also industrial strategies for the textile district to have the possibility to put together life cycle assessment analysis of products, and together with urban forestation programs to go to zero carbon net emissions in their activities. And then circular transition. The circular transition of the city is works on, let's say, 2 different levels. From one side, the continuous valorization and a sustain of the textile and clothing district of the city of Prato, considered as a fundamental part for the transition to a sustainable approach and circular approach in the fashion world. And on the other side, Prato Circular City as a program for the city that I'm going to in the next slide to show you, with a strong connection at regional level with the Tuscan region, with a program which is called RECO, which is the festival for circular economy for the Tuscan region that is held in the city of Prato. So RECO,
just to let you know, we have just 1 minute left, so please.
Okay, I'm going to close. So the Festival RECO is a program of, let's say, to create the conditions for a big dissemination on circular economy principles to a wide public, all of entrepreneurs, of experts, but also to the citizens. And then the program Prato Circular City. Prato Circular City is working on a dimension where the themes given at European level by the urban agenda for EU, quindi better regulation, better founding, and better knowledge, are now put together with a new approach where innovation, digital innovation, urban and social regeneration, and social cohesion are put as the main theme that should be considered within any local decision made. These are the table that are working on the working group that are within Prato Circular City program. And you see the first table is textile and clothing district and industrial symbiosis. So working on the transition to circular economy of the textile district. The table 2 is on management and urban resources. So what can we do at city level with regulamentations, rules, especially in the fields of building construction for the public sector, so with green public procurement, but also in the private sector, so enhancing the use, for instance, the reuse of existing urban tissues, or the use in the building construction sector of materials that comes from the reuse industry. Table 3 on circular consumption. So how to enhance and to create the conditions to acquire a knowledge on circular approaches in schools, in all the everyday life of citizens. And then table 4 is on sustainable urban agricultural systems. And so creating a connection to close the loop between urban and peri-urban agriculture at local level, and the distribution of vegetables and of fruits in the public canteen, in the shops, in the local markets, and so on. So what is important is that Prato Circular City, each of this table, it means that there are several working groups working, where the different stakeholders of the city are invited to participate, and so trying to build a coherent and comprehensive and inclusive vision for the transition to circular economy of the city. So thank you. Just 1 second, because what is relevant is that through the experience of and next to the experience of Prato Circular City, there's an action on urban forestation. So if from one side circular economy is considered as the way the city should behave to be sustainable as a whole, at the same time the city is working on urban forestry general strategy that you see in this document. This is an image by Stefano Boeri Architetti, where you see that where in the built areas of the city we are working in the industry, in the urban tissue, to work with a circular approach. In the open parts of the city and with this relevant presence of nature within the city is working instead on a strategy of urban forestation in order to have a global and a general agenda for the transition to the environmental transition, and at the same time also working on existing buildings, and so creating the condition where existing buildings are reused, and so reused with a circular approach, so reusing existing tissue and buildings in order to create new places for social innovation and public functions, but also working with nature-based solutions technique, and so working to create the conditions for this part of the city, which are the most.
Valerio, I'm sorry, but I really will ask you to get. I'm sorry, but it's very, very interesting. So I also take this point to invite everyone to Valerio. He has presented so many interesting initiatives and so many different actions being taken by the government of So we will continue the discussion with you. Already running late.
Okay.
Ahora, bueno, no sé, entiendo que Esperanza ya estás con el micrófono.
I understand that, Esperanza, you already have your mic and it's working. I think so. Yes. Thank you very much. So we will go back to Sevilla. Thank you very much, and I apologize for the technical problems, which is something from present times, you know. So I would like to start by thanking this forum that it's being developed by our hosts, and the fact that I also entered a little minutes later allowed me to know and get to know different initiatives that are very interesting. Well, when the European Commission started working, even before the pandemic, and visualizing a strategic plan of where to go from now, and on the other hand, the President of the European Commission established a roadmap, an agreement to enhance the whole European conjunction. Then the pandemic started, and what it did was to reinforce the idea that what we needed to do in order to get out of the pandemic was to implement environmental So in this sense, as you all know, in different lines such as clean economy, human well-being, or leadership, were taken into account. But of course, when we were speaking about what we wanted to achieve, we were developing also from the European Commission, that is, from the governmental body of the European Commission. But we also saw that we needed to incorporate the ones that needed to incorporate this were the regions and the cities. So this commission in particular started working in this line of action. Within this committee of cities and regions, there's a work group, a task force that works for the environment, which is the one that presides. It's presided by the government of Sevilla. And within this commission is where we are generating this green to local movement. Our objective is to work in conjunction with different cities, which are finally the ones that need to implement all the measures. We are working together with the European Union. We are also aligning with regulations, and we will work on getting and finding funding, and mainly we will establish a mutual learning system that is starting working together in our best practices. This green going to local that started by the ENVE Commission is presided by three different representatives from different cities. And of course, you have a website where we post the best practices by different cities that can be reproduced by others. As you all know, the Green Deal has 6 different lines of action. And I like this because the previous speakers, each of them at their level and with their level of development, we can see how different cities are working along these lines too, whether for circular economy or focusing more on environmental change. So in this sense, I would like to briefly go along the line of the Green Deal and see what are the measures that in a more generic way are being taken. So in this sense, and before I start with that, I would like to say that this initiative cannot be only by local governments. It is necessary to start that all administrations work together in a vertical way, but we also need a work that is continuous and involves all actors. It's without a public-private alignment, it's something that it's not possible to achieve. All the challenges that we are facing now, such as environmental and climate change, pollution, is not exclusively something that administrations can achieve. We all need to be involved within our own roles as consumers, producers, economy generators, knowledge creators, opinion generators. We all need to work in order to achieve and succeed in these challenges, because it's a very big one, such as the energy aspect, for example. One of the biggest challenges
y lo va a lanzar a través de las misiones, es la de conseguir ciudades climáticamente neutras en el 2050. Esa es la línea en la que está trabajando Madrid. Bueno, cuando hablamos de ciudades o hablamos de distritos o barrios, pero está claro que es un reto muy grande, porque no estamos hablando solamente de energía, estamos hablando de energía, estamos hablando de economía circular, estamos hablando de rehabilitación energética de vivienda. Entonces, digamos, todos y cada uno de los que actuamos ahí tendremos que ir trabajando. Bueno, pues por hacer un poco en los 6 minutos que me quedan, para hacer un poquito un resumen de cuáles serían las líneas de trabajo, pues bueno, estaríamos hablando lo primero de energía limpia, ¿no? Con este gran reto de ciudad
This big challenge in the neutral climate city. We have to take into account that the double role that the cities play as consumers are also as generators of energy. It's clear that every time we're going to distribute the territory, is going to generate energy, for example, using public space, whether in the soil, in the private or public soil, whether in high generation, either for consumption, but also to be used in the network. So we need to have a very big exercise as a box regulatory, as Santiago mentioned before, how to organize, how to structure this, because it was not regulated before, how to structure the relationships. For example, it's very important also the new energetic communities. We have the Europe regulation to interchange energy. Every person that is more than 500 kilometers is okay. They can receive it. The city can face this. How to give these spaces for the generation of energy. When we talk about clean energy, it's not only that we generate the energy, but we, as users, we have a very important tool, that is to determine what company we want to share so that they provide us energy. In that sense, the private and the public sector must make an effort in trying that the distribution that is received is renewable energy. For example, I talk now about my city, Seville. All the energy used by the municipality or the companies is renewable energy. So the market is going towards that energy, toward that sector. When we talk about clean energy, we talk about all the energetic transition that we must do, not only in what has to do with the normal consumption of lighting in the houses or in the services. We also talk about public services, the energetic transition in water, in waste, in the housing, in transportation, especially there. And also the cities' role play. We cannot ask the citizens to change the way they use their transportation or energy usage if we don't provide them with the devices in the cities. That is, for example, rechargeable devices. I would like to talk about building in an efficient way, especially in cities. I would like to talk about two topics on this. First, the efficient building in public places to recover the public space for the citizens. Recovery spaces in favor of the walking people and against the cars. This means the elimination of the barriers and to rethink cities. We have to be polycentric cities in which between 15 and 20 minutes, the citizenships can do anything they want to do, and they don't need to travel far away places. But also to do some housing renewal. When we talk about less efficient or poor efficient housing, but also houses that are old. So we need to transform them, especially in as regards energy. We don't only need the local administrations to be working or the national. We need a collaboration between the other actors so we can do this transformation in a timely manner. I will also like to talk about sustainable mobility. We have made some advances, but we know that we have unipersonal changes. We have to rethink the cities so we can rethink whether it's necessary. So many movements is necessary, and the public service that we provide has to have high quality, not only for the users, but also for the environment. We have worked a lot with the diesel railways, but we also have the cars. We also talked about the mobility with the latest media, with new businesses, everything that has to do the purchase through internet. So we have a lot of distribution because of that is individualized. So we have to go back to provide logistic intelligence in the supply of those products, and that solution to be sustainable as well. We have to think about biodiversity, as someone mentioned before. The cities are starting to provide more nature to their cities, like green belts in their surroundings of the cities with new plantings, or incorporated inside the cities more green spaces, having a double function for the citizens can enjoy the places and also eliminating contamination and the temperature, diminishing it, etc. We have not talked about the farm to the table politics, which is, I think, one of the newest politics that we're going to talk about when dealing with the environment, as also the health, the food, buying things with quality in near places. It's important to talk about, to work on this, because cities are places with a lot of consumptions, but at the same time we can determine with our own decisions what type of food we want to consume. Another work line is the sustainable industry, and I'm going to finish, to take into account that even though the industrial topics are private initiatives, normally it is an administration role to foster a type of industry that we want in our environment. And we would like to get a more sustainable type of industry. And also the improvement or the end of contamination, so as to have a healthier society for all our citizens. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Esperanza. Since we don't have so much time, could I ask you, not only you, but all the speakers, to answer some of the questions that are included in the chat, because the audience have at least 4 or 5 questions. We will have time only for one question, but I would like you to start interchanging ideas. I invite you and also the rest of the speakers, and so we can talk more about this European perspective. Let's go now to Patrick, who is going to provide his insights from.
He's the regional sub-program coordinator of Switch Africa Green at UNEP.
Yeah.
So this program supports countries, and we would like to hear a bit more from you, Patrick, some of the insights of the program experience and recommendations.
Thank you so much.
In catalyzing.
And this has been a very interesting session on how we can promote local economic development. I am Patrick Mwesje from UNEP Africa office, based in Nairobi, Kenya. We have a project. I hope you can see my screen.
No, not yet.
Is the screen on? So I will talk about Switch Africa Green program, a program which is supported by European Union. I will give some few lessons, some recommendations from the implementation of this program. That's the outline. This program is being implemented in 7 countries in Africa that are listed on the screen: Burkina Faso, Ethiopia, Kenya, Uganda, South Africa, Ghana, and Mauritius. It has a number of objectives, but the main one is to ensure that the micro, small, and medium enterprises are able to green their businesses through sustainable consumption and production patterns and practices, so as to attain a transition to green economy. And we need a number of enabling conditions to have this. The program has 3 components: the policy support, that is working with governments; the business development, working with the private sector; and then the networking component, where we include stakeholders, including national, regional, and sub-regional levels in each country. We looked at 4 priority sectors because we could not touch all the different ones: manufacturing, integrated waste management, agriculture, and tourism. These were the 4 focus sector areas that the program worked on. The implementation had a number of stakeholders, including those in the countries, but also the beneficiaries, who were mostly the private sector, based in different parts of the countries in all the 7 countries that we worked with. So these micro and small enterprises were the basis on how the different benefits could easily be articulated, so that the interventions through green economy, circular economy, industrial symbiosis, sustainable consumption and production, and so on, could easily be attained and measured. The program was supported at least 12 SDGs, but I will not go through these also. But the main aim was to see how countries can be assisted to attain some of the aspects of at least 12 SDGs. We worked with 3,000 micro, small, and medium enterprises. And these enterprises were able to attain improved compliance with the laws and regulations, attained competitive advantage, reduced the costs of inputs and raw materials, increased their productivity. There was a number of green jobs created, increased their incomes, and also there was health improvement of the workers and the surrounding areas. There will be some two examples which I will not go into details. A tannery which implemented industrial symbiosis, where its wastes were used as raw materials to create new projects, new products. We also had a factory which is cleaning rice, on how these are the rice husks that were being dumped away, but now they are inputs into boilers and steam generators in different industries. In implementing these projects, we had a number of lessons learned. Jobs were created, monetary gains were attained, micro and small enterprises were able to implement circular economy and other interventions through recovery, recycling, and so on, the so-called 3 Rs, although they are more than that. And many of them were able to divert the waste from landfills into usable products. From the experience of the Switch Africa Green, we have a number of recommendations that came out of the program. Among them is that we need to reform the efforts to ensure that we don't do things the same way. It becomes business as usual. Access to finance is a very big challenge. So we need to have a green financing mechanism for these micro and small enterprises and the local entrepreneurs. Because here we are looking at operating at local levels in each of the countries. Behavior and attitude change is needed. And also, we need effective and relevant partnerships and collaboration. My previous speakers have indicated how these partnerships are very, very critical if we are to make any difference in what we are trying to do to change our societies, to implement the green economy transition, to implement circular economy interventions, industrial symbiosis interventions, and so on. We also need integrated policy approaches. The examples from Europe show how integrated policy interventions can help those who want to make a difference, can be supported to have very effective policy coordination across different levels of governments and sectors. When these enterprises and local governments produce the products, there is need for market access. Some of the trade policies do not favor the smaller players who are producing their products. But also, some of these enterprises need capacity development, where you can make them understand and improve the way they have to implement interventions such as circularity and green economy.
I'm sorry, Patrick,
Of the
let me
4
just let
priority
you know
areas,
that you have 1 minute left. Okay, just for you know.
we have produced reports in agriculture, tourism, integrated waste management and manufacturing that give vivid examples on how you can make a difference when you are operating in a particular country. The countries are different, the policy support is different, but these reports give you a picture on how this can be done with different micro, small, and medium enterprises acting as case studies. I take this opportunity to thank you so much for giving this opportunity so that we share our experience on Switch Africa Green. Before I leave, I wanted to mention that there is another program we did on operationalizing green economy at local level, where you do planning by integrating green economy aspects of development plans of different local governments. And this indicated that it is possible to have green economy, circular economy, sustainable consumption and production, and all these interventions mainstreamed into the planning process so that local governments can serve their people better. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Patrick, for providing us so much insights and also the learnings that you have with this initiative. So before there is a lot of interaction happening in the chat. So please continue it, and we will still go back to you in the final round to ask the speakers some final words. So let me go back
and now I would like to give the floor to Juan and Gustavo Flores, which is one of our hosts from Córdoba. So I take this chance to thank you, Jorge. And now the question that we have planned for you was, once circular economy is defined as a public policy for the municipal government, what is the strategy that is planned to make progress on this new paradigm? What are the goals for 2021 in circular economy, and what concrete aspects have grown in this sense? Thank you very much, Jorge. You have the floor.
First of all, welcome everybody. It's a pleasure to have you at home, even though it's done in a virtual way. Since we started our municipal government, we started a building process of the city of Córdoba as a circular city. Our city is the biggest in our country. It's 576 square kilometers. It's the second big city as regards the quantity of inhabitants. For that reason, when providing the essential public services, it's a challenge. For example, the waste picking in the city. In order to cover such a big territory, 576 square kilometers, our waste picking system is very expensive, and it requires a permanent control of all the picking system in order to avoid this, to make it an inefficient system. Our city of Córdoba produces approximately 2,400 tons per day. That means that all that waste ends in the corresponding place that historically has been managed with the conception that all the waste must be buried. There is no treatment in the burying system. And that is logical, and it is natural from a linear economic system. The linear economy concentrates all the energies in the manufacturing and production of goods and increasing the consumption of those products without taking into account the waste destiny that is being generated throughout all the process. Of course, the concept or the paradigm of the linear economy in our city of Córdoba is diminished because it doesn't help the sustainability of our society. against one of the OSH of our city. And that linear paradigm is that our mayor, Intendente Chardora, is asking us to leave it out so that we can build a circular economy. Of course, we understand and we are convinced that if we are able to solidify the circular economy in our city, we're going to be benefited by the triple impact, that is the economical, social, and environmental impact. In the economical aspect, we can start seeing the new benefits of starting this circular economy path. For example, we can see that our squares and parks, they start having banks made of plastic wood that is being recycled. We have some public offices that have been built with eco bricks. They come from the plastic or waste recycling. The same, we are recovering in our city due to the cutting of the trees. We have more chips and fertile soil due to the compost. Our mayor has also decided that we have to hire all the public works must take into account products from the circular economy. In the social sector, the circular economy benefits are very positive and will be positive. In our city, we have 21 cooperatives working, and other social organizations, they live due to recycling activity and the waste recycling. And we have a lot of people that live on the transportation of the waste material. This social sector with the government support and with social plans. So the circular economy highlights the popular economy, the social economy. That is to say, we are convinced that the circular economy is going to produce employment, genuine employment. It will increase the security conditions and also health work. Now, our intention is to advance in the formalization of all this work that live on the waste transportation. Our municipality and state wants to enable these people to formalize them, the ones that live in an informal working conditions, so they can be eco people that transport this, and also formalizing the type of work they do so that they can get more incomes and producing more employability. And what is more important, that with the passing of time, they can abandon the current transportation system so that they can gradually replace it with other means of transportation and also on foot. As regards the social sector, the benefits will be a lot. And our theme is improving the strengthening of recycling cooperatives, as well strengthening the infrastructure of all these production centers that today work in an informal way. And as regards the environment aspects, the impact is going to be very positive. As I was saying, historically, the linear economic model has a place in which all the waste is being buried, all the waste from our city. We have been working for a long time in trying to change that model. Our site shouldn't be like a final place for waste disposal, but a treatment place. That is why we're building an economy and circular part in this place where the waste is finally disposed. That site must be a treating waste place where we classify the waste and separate waste so that the municipality can take that raw material and reintroduce it into the productive processes. so that the waste that is for one particular industry becomes raw material for another company or industry. Our municipality is convinced that this reality is going to be changed with the circular economy. That's why it is a state politics, it's public administration by our mayor, Martín Sardola. That is what we are aiming at, and very convincingly. And the municipality is going to have an accompanying attitude with promotions and incentives. We are not going to be witnessing this, but the municipality is going to be a protagonist of the economic circular economy. We're going to make it happen because it's not only to foster the process, and we are also going to intervene in the market behind all the material so as to insert it in the productive chains or to make use of it. As I was telling you before, our parks, our squares, are starting to include the circular economy materials like plastic, materials coming from a social factory or a cooperative or with compost products. And this is going to be reintroduced in the public sector administration. We are convinced that the circular economy is the way to go. It's a state politics so that Córdoba becomes a circular economy. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jorge, for this intervention. Since we don't have so much time, and I want to take advantage that there were several questions in the chat, I hope that the organization allows us to continue, but considering the technical problems we had, we have technical problems. I cannot translate.
Perdón, Francis, ¿me escuchas?
If the speakers could provide some insights or recommendations, I'm going to change into English one more time. Hello, everyone. I think we're having some technical problems, so I will continue the conversations in order to close it. Francine would have loved to wrap it up. So we have some minutes. I think we don't have so much time, but let me confirm how much time we have so that we can do some final conclusions. We have some minutes for final comments if you want to close the conversation. Go ahead. For the speakers, maybe if you can open your cams. The first person on my left, I start with Martín Guillermo, please. Thank you very much. I am the less expert in circular economies, but it's something that affects all our partners. So we're trying to get to know about this little by little. One of the questions caught my attention because we're working on this, which has to do with the energetic communities. This is a concept that for most part of the municipalities and the regions was unknown. Only the people that were involved in this knew about this. But this became important in the latest months. I can provide some answer to this, how the small municipalities can choose this innovation when they have very few resources. We need a multilateral international support and support from the states, but the municipalities have to partner with those small communities so that we can achieve a lot together. Thank you very much. Now, Esperanza Caro, she's on the screen. Thank you, Ana. As a summary of all the interactions and the questions I saw in the chat, how do we advance in our lines independently of the resources that we have. Well, I think that first we have to have a clear political vision to know where we want to go to. And this political vision, and also think about the whole society. For the municipality, it must be easier because when I talk about municipality, not only the government, but also the whole society. That's why we talk about a strategic plan in agreement with all the society. Of course, there are many working lines that we want to interact to develop each one of them little by little. I don't see any problem, but to have your objective clear on mind. And of course, depending on your level, when you have a municipality, you maybe have small problems. If the bigger you are, the bigger the problems. The experience is in the energetic. You need a private, public, or private-private. You have to collaborate each other so that we can, if we want to work on electricity, politics support and the community support, and to have clear in mind where we want to arrive to. Thank you, Esperanza. And then Jorge Foloni wanted to say something. I want to answer some questions that I am receiving via chat. Basically, someone asks me some indications or to explain how to include the private sector within this new circular economy model that we are thinking of from the municipality. A few time ago, we started a new circular economy cluster in our country, and in this phase, which is the cluster, is going to be the place in which all the sectors are going to work on. We're going to incorporate almost 60 companies, and we're continue working to add more companies from the private sector. We also will have cooperatives from the recycling sector, and also the 7 public universities and the municipality state, together with the 2 bodies that work exclusively in circular economy. This space is an articulation table, round table, to listen to and also to design public politics as regards circular economy, to propose and the regulations in order to arrive to the circular economy. Our regulations highlight the final disposals, and that has to be replaced by terms or words that have to do with the treatment in situ of all the waste. They asked me also how we can advance against the informal or open places used for waste disposal. We have around 101 open waste disposal places, and that is a product of the lineal economy. So far, what they have done is, since they don't have the treatment variable presence in their logistics, they produce saturation, on the one hand, for the place where the waste is being buried, that historically has been buried in those places, and they generate waste places in open places, and they are informal. How are we going to change this? How are we going to advance towards a sustainable Córdoba? We are going to install some points or centers to transferring, as well as for receiving all the waste, together with the cooperatives, so that we can separate waste and they can be wrapped, and then the municipality can buy those handles and introduce them within the production circle of the circular economy. And finally, as regards the regulation of the green roofs, which is something that was passed in 2016, we're going to modify that regulation so that it can be applied in the practice. Thank you very much. Okay, I give the floor to Patrick, please. some last insights, and then to Mr. Valerio. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Anna. In many of the countries with increasing urbanization, also having decentralization, where things are done at a local level, I think it's time that if we want the private sector to lead the growth, it would be important to have these discussions from the national level to the local level and the private sector, so that we are able to have this inclusiveness where we have different levels of society, including women and children, participate in implementing these aspects such as circular economy, green economy, sustainable consumption and production, industrial symbiosis, when governments put the planning process and the policy support in place to ensure that all different stakeholders participate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Patrick. And for the last part, to Santiago Saura. Saura had to leave, so the last words are going to be from Valerio. I think the technical issues have been complicated today. However, I would like to thank everybody, Esperanza, Patrick, Martin, Jorge, Valerio, and Santiago, for your participation today. Very interesting with the circular economy that is very popular currently. Thank you very much for sharing your experience and your time. I apologize for the technical issues, and we have taken more of your time. Without further ado, we are closing this. We continue with the forum. We have one more day. I hope to see you in other sessions. Thank you very much.
Gracias.